Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Yay.
Welcome to the webinar. Thank you for joining, if you have joined. So,
I'm sure if you've watched webinars before, you know that whenever we introduce ourselves, the beginning is always just horrible. I've never found a comfortable way to just appear. Oh my goodness.
you may already know us, by the way, because we've been doing webinars for a while now. So if you've been
Probably.
tuning in often, you probably know us.
Yes, I definitely feel like I recognize more and more of you every day, which is so nice. But we always as well.
Definitely,
So yes,
yeah.
if you are
Oh,
old
we
or
have 3
new,
viewers
please
already.
say hi. Yay! So tell us in the comments, what are your names? Where are you? Are you in Milan like us, or are you from somewhere else in Italy? Or are you even in Italy? I know we sometimes have some French students, some Spanish students. We have
Okay, it's always nice to have you guys participating. So in the meantime, we can introduce the topic of today. It's in a taxi. So the things you say when you get a taxi, when you are asking for how much it costs. So, nice to have you here, guys. Patrick says, hi, I'm from Como and I was born in Sicily. Oh, I love Como. Have you ever been in Como, Jadene?
No, I would love to go. Oh no, I have been. Actually, I lied. Sorry, I haven't been to Sicily. I would love to go to Sicily, but I would like to go another time because I went when it was a bit cold. And Raffaele says, I am 45 years old and I live in somewhere I can't pronounce, but on the sea, Vietri, sul mare near Salerno. And Patrick
Somewhere in the south.
28 years old. Okay. Cool. Very nice. Very nice.
Great.
Okay.
So here's what we're going to talk about today. So in this focus activity, we are going to talk about giving directions, paying, and general chit-chat. So interesting word, chit-chat. What is a chit-chat, Jadene?
Yes. So chit-chat is a word we can use for casual conversation, but it's not really about anything important. So we can also call this small talk. So chit chat or small talk is not important conversation to pass the time.
Okay. So
okay.
we have some questions here.
Raffaele was incorrect with his age. He's 35 years old. Sorry, no problem. No problem. We would hate for you to feel old. Patrick. So we can say what is chit chat, or we can say what does, or what does it mean, and it's just unimportant or casual conversation.
Yeah. So yeah, sometimes taxi drivers like to chit chat.
Your life or anything private. So we have chit chat or small talk.
Yeah. Okay. So we have some questions here about getting on a taxi. And so we are going to read the questions and answer them. So those of you watching, please write, you can choose, maybe there are a lot of them. So maybe you can number the questions 1, 2, 3 and write some answers. Okay. So what are the questions? Jadene, do you want to read out the questions here?
Sure. So question number 1, do you often ride in a taxi? So often means a lot. Okay, so do you ride in a taxi a lot? Number 2, have you been in a taxi in a foreign country? So a country that is not Italy, so somewhere other than your home. Number 3, what are some situations where you might have to be careful in a taxi? So when do you have to avoid danger? And number 4, what are some precautions you might have to take? So a precaution is another word for a safety measure. Okay, so what are any things you might have to do to stay safe in a taxi? Okay.
Yes, nice expressions. So I'm just typing out the definitions here. So while we are waiting for your responses, maybe we can also discuss some of these questions. We already have something from Patrick here. No, because in Italy the taxis are very costly. Okay.
Yes, so
so when you compare two things, only then you say more. So for example, you could say taxis are more costly than buses, than public transport. And cost is a noun, so costly is the adjective.
exactly. So yeah, you can say taxis are more costly or more expensive than other travel. Or you can just say no because taxis are costly or taxis are expensive. Okay, and Anika,
I agree.
yeah, so do you often ride in a taxi?
I actually agree with Patrick. I don't take the taxi a lot, like very rarely.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever taken a taxi in Milan.
what
Maybe
about
once.
Uber? Do you ever get an Uber?
Not really. Never needed to. But when I used to live in Malaysia, to be honest, I used to take the taxi really often because it was really cheap.
Really?
Not really
Yeah.
cheap, but like it was much better priced than here
Yeah, and
in Italy.
also I think in Milan it's probably faster to take the train
That's
than
so true.
to get a taxi because there's often a lot of traffic in the
Hmm.
city, so it can be slower to
Mm-hmm.
take a car than to take a train.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So then question 2, have you been in a taxi in a foreign country?
Well, so as for me, I have taken taxi because Italy is a foreign country for me. So I have taken a taxi in Malaysia and in Italy. So the last time I took a taxi, I remember I was in Rome, and I think there was something wrong with the metro. Can't remember what really happened. So I couldn't get to my lesson on time. So I called up the school and they said, just grab a taxi and get here. So and that occasion for work purpose, I had to take a taxi.
Oh,
What
I
about you,
see.
Jadene? Have you ever taken taxis in foreign countries?
Yes. So if I travel to a city, then usually when I arrive in the city, so from an airplane, I will take a train. But if I am arriving by airplane not to a city, so maybe to a countryside or somewhere that is not so urban, then I usually get a taxi from the airport to my accommodation
Hmm.
because it's just easier.
Yes. Yeah. Airports are always far.
Exactly. Airports are usually outside of the
Hmm.
important places. But also, if it's cheap to take a taxi, then sometimes for convenience, so because it's more easy, you have more space, I take a taxi.
Hmm.
But usually it's not cheaper and I am poor. So,
So are we all.
okay. So Patrick
Hmm.
said, yes. So we can say, yes, I took, if we're using the past simple. So yes, I took a taxi because we also use we use the article A. So for one taxi, yes, I took a taxi in the USA or in America. 2 years ago, I went to New York. Oh, lovely. Did you like it? And yeah, so America or the USA is just always called the USA, like the UK is always called the UK. This is permanent. But one thing we can say is if we use the verb to go, so for example, went, and we use it with a destination, so a place, we always say to the place. So 2 years ago, I went to New York, or I have been to New York. I will go to New York. We always use the preposition to. No problem. No problem for using your phone. As long as you want to keep writing, we are happy to help you.
Okay.
Okay.
And what are some situations where you might have to be careful?
Well, I don't know. As a woman, I think sometimes taxis can be dangerous, especially if you are. Yeah, I think in every country, actually, being in a taxi alone at night can be dangerous, and you hear lots of horrible stories about bad things happening to women with taxi drivers. So one thing for number 4, one thing I have heard is a precaution you can take if you are a woman getting a taxi. Obviously, you can travel with somebody, so you can make sure that you don't take the taxi alone. But another thing is you should sit in the back because you have if you're in a dangerous situation, it's easier to escape if you are sitting in the back.
Yes.
Also, Anika, what do you think can be a problem for everybody? So not just women.
Well, so what comes to mind is not about like safety purposes. If I talk about general people everywhere, maybe some taxis, like if you're a foreigner, some taxi drivers might charge more than they should. So they might ask you for more money than you're supposed to pay. But I remember in Malaysia, though, you were not allowed to do that. So in taxis, they were doing that a lot. So they established a law that they're not allowed to do that. So they wrote in the taxis, no haggling allowed. Right. Exactly. So Jadene has written for us here, they might rip you off, charge you more money than you should. They rip you off. It's a nice expression to say. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe if I am a foreigner in Milan, I arrive at the airport and I take a taxi from the airport to the city center. And maybe the normal taxi price is like $30 or $40. Really, euros. I don't know. But maybe they charge me like 150 euros because I don't know how far away the city is. So I say, okay, I'll pay 150 euros, and they have ripped me off because they should not charge me this much money. So then what is a precaution we can take, do you think, to avoid being ripped off? So to stop being charged extra money? What do you think we can do, Anika?
I think, if not the only way, one of the ways probably is to tell them beforehand, like ask them if what you can see in the meter is what you have to pay, or if there's a fixed price, just to be clear from the beginning. So that later on they can't just ask you for more.
Exactly. Also, you can research before. So before you go to a country, you can research how much money does it usually cost to travel from here to here in a taxi. And if people have said before, oh, it usually costs 50 euros. Then if you go to the airport and they say it will cost 150 euros, you can say, no, no, it's too much.
Yeah. But then sometimes there's nothing you can do. For example, I remember on Christmas Day, I was out with some friends and we just didn't know that all the public transports were closed in the evening. So we got stuck somewhere in Milan in the center. And then we tried to get a taxi back. We called a cab and they charged us a lot. I can't remember the price anymore.
Yeah, because you have no option.
You have no option. You have to pay.
It's the same also on New Year's Eve. So usually taxi prices are ridiculously high as well.
Okay. So maybe we can move on to our next task.
Yeah, sure.
But if you guys are still responding, you can just keep the comments coming. Okay, for a minute there, I forgot that I'm the one with the slides.
Yes.
Okay, so here we have a dialogue that we are going to read out. So it's between a taxi driver and a passenger, I believe. So a passenger is the person who is riding a taxi, who is sitting at the back, not the driver himself.
Yes, and also, sorry, we just have a comment from Raffaele. So he says, I took a taxi 2 years ago when I went to Thailand and remembered that I didn't have any word because he was many money to me. So I think the beginning of this sentence, Raffaele, is perfect. I took a taxi 2 years ago when I went to Thailand. But then the end of the sentence is a bit unclear. So do you mean, and I remember that? I don't have any words, so maybe I didn't speak any Thai. And he charged you a lot of money, maybe, or he asked for a lot of money. So did the taxi driver ask you for a lot of money?
Yeah, it's a little unclear. Do you mean there was a language problem, Raffaele? So if there's a language problem, I didn't speak their language. Yeah. Yeah. Did the taxi driver ask you for a lot of money?
Yes, but the beginning of your sentence, Raffaele, was perfect. So I took a taxi 2 years ago when I went to Thailand. Lovely. So just try again with the second part. And remember also in English, we always stick to subject, verb, and object when we're writing. So tell us who and tell us what the verb is. So yes, he did. He asked for a lot of money. So not you, Raffaele, but he or she, so the taxi driver. So this can be an example of when they try to rip you off. So when they ask for more money, then you should pay normally. Can we write? Yes, we can also type in the comments more. If maybe we are not so loud.
So I think Raffaele meant that the second part, he wants us to write the second part, probably. All right.
Maybe
anyway.
So, I didn't speak Thai, and taxi driver asked me for a lot of money. Maybe like this, Raffaele.
Okay, so in the meantime, we can talk about a dialogue between the passenger and the taxi driver. So maybe we can take turns in reading. I can read the blue parts, and probably Jadene can read the red parts.
Sure.
Okay. So, hi, Orchard Street, please.
Where exactly on Orchard Street?
Where do you recommend? I'd like to go to the best area for shopping and eating.
That's pretty much the whole street, but it starts near Houston, so I'll drop you off there.
That sounds great. How long will it take?
Without traffic, about 10 minutes.
Great. Okay. So
Yeah,
that's a very
so
typical conversation between a passenger and a taxi driver.
yes, and it's nice. You can see that the passenger is maybe new to the area, so maybe is a tourist. And it's nice because they ask for recommendations, so a suggestion of where to go. So if you're not sure when you're in a taxi of the best place to go, again, maybe in Milan, you want to go somewhere near Duomo, where you'll be paying a lot of money for this taxi. But maybe you don't know exactly where. You can say, oh, where do you recommend? Where do you suggest? We would like to be able to walk there in 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's like Via Torino in near Duomo in Milan.
Yeah, so you
You
can
can go
anywhere.
shopping and eating.
Exactly. And thank you, Raffaele.
Okay, so here we have some expressions that you may want to remember. Where do you recommend is definitely very nice. Expression to ask for recommendations, suggestions. Okay, so how long will it take? So how long is the duration of time that you need? So if you ask a question about a duration of something, for example, how long is this webinar? So you talk about the duration of the webinar. Another thing to remember is the use of will. So when you're offering to help or when you're promising something, you use will. So I'll drop you off there, not the present simple, not I drop you off, but I'll. Okay, so if you guys have any questions at this point, please let us know.
Yes.
So drop off here is also a very common phrasal verb when you're talking about transport. So when you drop someone off, you are driving them and you leave them somewhere they want to be. So if you drop if you have children, you may want to drop your kids off at the school. So you drive them, yeah, just like Jadene wrote for us, to drive someone to a location.
And you can also ask as well, maybe if Anika is driving to work, or if Anika is leaving work in a car and I want to go as well, I can say, can you drop me off at my house? So we
Exactly.
always say drop and then the subject and then off.
Yeah. Okay, so we can go ahead with the next next part of this dialogue. Okay, so here's another dialogue. So again, maybe we can take turns to read the dialogue. I can read the blue ones and Jadene the red ones.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, Kramer's dress 14, please.
Let's see, Kremerstrasse.
I'll give you directions if you start heading down the street.
Okay.
Make a right at the second traffic light.
Okay.
Make a left on the wetter stress and then go on Kremer, 14 to right near the corner.
Okay, so this situation is a bit different because in the first conversation, we saw the taxi driver had more information and the tourist wasn't sure where to go. In this conversation, the tourist knows, or not the tourist, the passenger knows exactly where they want to go. For example, maybe you are going home after you have been to a bar or something, so you know where to go, but the taxi driver is unsure. So you can also give directions to a taxi driver. Also, maybe if you think you know a better route to get somewhere, so a better way to get somewhere, you can give them directions.
Yes. Yes, knowing how to give direction is quite useful. Also, if someone is lost in the streets and they want to know where something is, it's very useful to know how to give directions. So here, for example, very useful expressions are make a right. Okay. So make a right or make a left. So right is this my right hand and left hand. So in case some students are struggling to remember which is right and which is left, I always found this useful to look at your left hand. Yeah.
Because it makes an L for you. L for left.
Yeah. The left hand makes an L, and the other one is
Yeah.
right.
And I
So
know
make a
maybe
left.
this is confusing for you because this is my left hand, but my camera is mirrored. Oh no, it's not mirrored, it's flipped around.
Yes. So it could be confusing, but then, yeah. So you put up your hands and see which one makes an L. So instead of make a right, make a left, you can say turn, turn left, turn right. Okay. And what do
And
we
we
have?
also have a phrase that says if you start heading down this street, so to head down somewhere just means to begin going. So I'm going to head home. I'm going to begin going home. If you head down this street, if you start to go down this street.
Yeah. Okay, so there's also this word, in case you guys don't know, near the corner. So corner of this street is where two streets meet in the corner. Okay. All right. So if you guys have any questions, please let us know. And I think that's it from this dialogue. So we're going to move on to our next task. So here you have to match the phrases. All right. Okay. So these are like when they match, they complete a phrase with a specific meaning. So you have to match them together. So on the left, we have the shop is on, make a right, head straight down, turn left, drop me, turn right at the next. And on the right, we have the street, the corner at the traffic light off here intersection. So if you guys know the answers, please type them up. Give it a try.
So Patrick says, here you go. It's just a way to say, ta-da.
Yeah, when
Very
you're giving something, usually when you give something to someone, you say, here you go,
Yeah,
like
so where
politely.
do they say it?
So, for example, if you're paying for something that you have just bought,
Yes.
or even if
Yes.
say, oh, can I borrow your pen? So if I say, Jadene, can I borrow your pen? You say, oh, here you are.
Yeah, it means here it is. So here. So here they've said it's €4.20. So I say, here you go, here is the money, here it is.
Hmm. Yeah, here it is, here you go, here you are. So there's so many variations of it.
Yeah, and also if you maybe again if you were ordering a drink at the bar, you can give the money, here you go. But maybe the bartender or the waiter will give you your drinks and say, here you go.
Hmm. That was a good question.
Yeah.
So getting back to this exercise here, try to match them together. And if you're not sure about one of them, you can skip ahead to the next one.
Yeah. I think the first one is a bit difficult because it says the shop is on.
Hmm.
So on is already the preposition. On is what we use to talk about specific location. So actually, this could have two different answers.
True, yeah. Okay, so maybe we can give the first answer and then we can go ahead with the
Yeah,
next one. So the first is the shop is on the corner.
yeah.
Okay,
But
so shop is
you could also say the shop is on this street as well.
yeah. Okay, so we have just one viewer at the moment, so maybe it could take some time for us to receive your response if you're still writing. So maybe we can just continue.
Hmm.
Make a right would be make a right here, I think. Oh, I'm sorry. Make a right at the
No, no.
traffic light.
You can really, I think maybe we should just show all of them because you can have different answers. You could say make a
Yeah.
right at the traffic light where we have a picture. Um,
Mm,
at the moment it's red, but you can also say make a right here. So here, make a right.
mm-mm. Yes, there's so many possible answers you can have. And then, so head straight down, we have this street. Okay, head straight down this street or go straight on the street. Then we have turn left here, I think.
Mhm.
Sorry for the delay. Okay, so turn left here. So the next one is what we already talked about, to drop me off. So drop, usually you use for after drop, you use a pronoun and then off. So drop me off, drop her off, drop you off. Then we have turn right at the next intersection. So intersection is a place where two streets meet. Okay. So if you guys have questions, let us know. Okay. So I hope this was clear. So we can move ahead to the next task here. So we're going to use the expressions we talked about before to talk about the map here. So this makes it a bit bigger.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we can, I hope this is big enough here. So we can talk about going to one place to another on this map. Okay, so
Yeah.
we can practice giving directions from one place to another. So whoever is watching, maybe you can tell us, give us directions from the church to the museum. Okay, from the church, which is here. Okay, you are here,
Mhm.
and you're going to the museum all the way to the other side of the picture. Okay, how would you give direction? And in the meantime, we can let me so we can talk about another example. So, for example, if you're going from public library to the theater, this is how you would say. So, after you leave the public library, go straight, turn right, head straight down Queen Avenue, Avenue. Then turn right on Lane Street. Okay. And then you'll find the theater after the news agent on your right. Okay, so this is a very detailed direction from going to one place to another. So maybe you can write a short explanation, short direction from the church to the museum. So the names of the streets are given if that helps.
And just remembering, so we can say turn left or right. We can say make a left or right. We can say continue down if we mean continue, or we can say go straight down if we mean to continue the length of a road. And you can also use places as positions to turn. So you can say turn at the car park, turn at the hospital. And this means when you get to this place, then you turn.
Yeah. Okay. So Patrick has a reply here. You must go over there. Turn left in Queen Avenue, turn right, and you must go over there. So must can be a really strong word to use. So you could just say this way, just instead of saying you must go over there. So
usually we just give imperative, I think.
Yeah.
So go straight. Instead of over there, go straight. And then turn left at Queen Avenue, not in. They say at. And then again, turn right and go straight. Because remember, over there, we don't know where this is.
Yes. It just means over there, like I imagine somewhere far away, like over there.
So over there.
Yeah.
Somewhere. But yes, but good. So the museum is on the right. Nice.
Okay. Yeah, so use imperative. You don't have to use must or anything. Okay, next we're gonna look on to the next task. So this is a dialogue about paying, right? So when you're paying the taxi driver, so we have talked about getting a taxi and then giving directions, and this is finally we're talking about paying. So here's a typical dialogue. Here we are, Dimitri Street. That'll be €8.80, please.
Do you have
here
change?
we are. Yeah. Sorry. So I just wanted to mention about the first little phrase here. Here we are is also, again, really polite expression to say, okay, we have arrived. Here we are.
Yeah. And also another thing we can say is when we talk about money, so when we pay in English, we always say the number first. So 8, and then the currency, euros, and then we say the number of the small money.
Yeah,
so
cents.
80, yeah. So the cents or the pennies.
So
€8.80.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an important point you've mentioned. I've heard a lot of students say different variations of it.
Okay, so the next sentence is different, Patrick, because it says, so the question is, do you have change for a 50? So if I give you a 50 euro note, can you give me my change that is left? And then the cab driver says, actually, we don't carry change for more than a 20. This isn't about taking, it means we don't have change. So I cannot take the 50 because I cannot give you any change back. I don't have enough change.
Yeah. Okay. So the next sentence here says, actually, no, we don't carry change for more than 20. Do you have another smaller? Okay.
Let me check. Okay, I have a 20.
Great, your change. So you give the change. And
I'll just take a 10 back.
okay, so you're taking back 10. Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too. Bye bye.
Okay. All right. Any more questions? Let us know anytime, Patrick. Then we have chit chat. What topics
Woo.
might you chit about with the taxi driver when you're visiting a place? Okay, so there are different. Okay, before we show the topics here, maybe we can talk in general. What topics might you chit chat about?
So we can
Um,
chit chat about the weather, and also
hmm,
a common one is what have you had a lot of work? So it's very common to say to the
hmm,
taxi driver, have you been busy today?
yeah. Okay. Or even about the places that if you're new in town and you want to know about the places, I think um, you could talk about the specific shop you're looking for.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, so here there are some typical topics that you would talk about. So you could talk about where you're both from, um, things to do in and around city, entertainment, restaurants, bars, cafes, nightlife, local favorites, art and culture, history. Okay, so some of these topics for me personally could be more than a chit chat. I mean, so I think it depends on what you're interested in. Um, yeah. So are these topics that you would talk about, Jadene? Are all these topics you would generally talk about?
Um, some of them you could say you have things to do in the city. Um, maybe about restaurants and bars and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, sometimes if I can hear that the taxi driver um is from a different place, I could ask, oh, so
Hmm.
where are you from? Are you from the city, or have you moved here?
Hmm.
Patrick says, I usually ask for news about the city. That's nice. Yeah, so to find out what's happening currently, and also about advice. So
Hmm.
advice is always singular.
Yes, that's very good.
Yeah,
You get to know the place better.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, things to do. I like that. So advice or recommendations.
Hmm.
What would you ask the taxi driver about, Anika?
Yeah, so I would also ask about restaurants or places to go. Sometimes, if there are some streets to avoid for some special events, I would try to be aware of it.
Ah, it's
Yeah,
true.
because in Milan, very often there are some events like the Piano Milano City, and then they have Fashion Week and Design Week. Sometimes you may want to avoid some places.
Yes,
Um,
very, very true.
yeah. Okay. So let's get to some dialogues on chit chat. So here is a very common conversation. Boston Square, please. Do you know any good bars in this area? So this is something that the passenger might ask the taxi driver.
Yeah. So asking for a recommendation. And then
Hmm.
that area is full of bars, but the temple bar is a good one. First time here, which is just a short way to say, is it or is this your first time here?
Hmm. And then the passenger might say, I came once when I was little, but I don't remember anything. Are you from around here?
Oh yeah, born and bred. So this means I am always from here.
Yeah. It's a beautiful city. Okay, so I think
Okay,
this was quite
so
easy.
yes, Patrick says, when do I use might? And I don't know if might is in this text. So might can be used for lots of different reasons. Patrick, but usually might expresses uncertainty or possibility. So, for example, I can't spell. You might talk to the driver about this. It means it's possible to talk to the driver about this. Or if I ask Anika, are you going to the restaurant later? And she says, I might go. It's not certain. It's not 100%. Maybe she will go, but maybe she will not go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's quite similar to may, I would say. Might and may. Okay. And then, okay, so this is just some practice here. That's okay. So these are meant for some role play exercises for group lessons, I guess. So since we have just a few minutes left, we can go ahead with a quick review of what we have done today. Okay, so today we have talked about, we have discussed some questions about taxis and how often we take taxis, what precautions to take. And then we have discussed some dialogues between a passenger and a taxi driver. And we have talked about some important expressions. For example, where do you recommend when you want to get an advice from a taxi driver? And the phrasal verb drop off, which means to leave you in a place when you drive someone. Okay, and then we have talked about more dialogue about a typical dialogue in a taxi when you give direction, when you know the place and you're telling the taxi driver which way to go. So we have talked about expressions make a left, make a right. Near the corner, we have talked about the expression here you go when you give something to someone. There were some really common expressions related to taxi, shop. The shop is on the corner or is on the street. Make a right at the traffic light. Head straight down the street. Turn left. Drop off. Turn right at the next intersection. We have practiced giving direction using a map. And we have read a typical dialogue about paying things. Here are some things to remember are here we are, and how to talk about money properly. So just like Jadene pointed out before, €8.80. And we have also talked about some chit chat that you can have with a taxi driver, using some common expressions here. Okay.
Lovely.
So is there something more you want to add, Jadene?
No, I think that was everything. Actually, I think that was fine.
Yeah. So I think that brings us to the end of our webinar. Thank you, Patrick, for being with us and participating. Anyone else who watched?
Yes, it's always so much more fun when you participate. So thank you.
Yeah. All right. So have a good evening, guys.
Yes, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.